Dr. Mara Vance sat in the small med bay of the research vessel Astrahedron, staring at the empty screen in front of her. The ship hummed softly around her, like a giant metal heartbeat. Outside the walls, there was only the cold silence of space. She rubbed her tired eyes and checked the medical inventory on her tablet again. Bandages, synth gel, antibiotics, bone knitters, a small supply of adrenaline shots. Only 3 left. 3, she murmured. I hope we don't need even one. Mara was a human medic, not a soldier. She had joined the Astrahedron to study alien microbes, not to deal with emergencies. But space did not care what she wanted. Space was dangerous and unpredictable, and medics were always busy. The ship's lights flickered once, just a dim dip, and then back to normal. Mara frowned. That's new, she said. Before she could stand, the calm voice of the ship's AI filled the medbay. All crew, this is Central. We are receiving a distress signal. Report to your stations. Mara's heart skipped a beat. A distress signal meant trouble. Trouble meant injuries. She grabbed her medical kit and hurried into the corridor. Other crew members were already moving, boots thudding on the metal floor. She saw Captain Rhee walking fast toward the bridge, her expression hard and focused. Mara, with me, the captain said, not slowing down. Mara fell into step beside her. What kind of signal is it? Unknown, Captain Rhee said. Old frequency. Very weak. Coming from the surface of that moon we're orbiting. The dead rock? Mara asked. The moon below them was supposed to be a lifeless ball of ice and stone, with strange magnetic storms but no life. That's the one, Rhee replied. But apparently, something down there disagrees. They reached the bridge. Large screens showed the moon below, a cold gray sphere with cracks of pale blue ice. Data streams moved across the displays, full of numbers and graphs. Report, Rhee said. The communications officer, a young man named Jalen, pointed to his console. We picked up a repeating distress call, Captain. It's very old. The code doesn't match any known human pattern. Might be alien. Mara felt a small shiver of excitement and fear. Alien. She had studied many alien species in the lab, but most of them were tiny cells under a microscope. This sounded bigger. Can we decode it? Rhee asked. Not fully, Jalen answered. But the signal structure. It keeps repeating a pattern that looks like a medical emergency tag. It's like it's saying, injured, help, critical. Mara stepped closer. So someone down there is hurt? Or something, Jalen said. Rhee folded her arms and stared at the moon on the main screen. We came here to study the magnetic storms, not to land. Mara watched her quietly. The captain's job was to think of the ship and the crew first. Landing on an unstable moon with unknown signals was not a safe choice. But there was that word. Help. Captain, Mara said softly. If someone is sending a distress call, we can't just ignore it. Rhee glanced at her. It could be a trap, or an automated signal from a long-dead probe, or a malfunctioning transmitter. Or it could be someone dying, Mara said. Her voice was steady, but her chest felt tight. If we don't go, and it was real, we will never know. But they will still be dead. The bridge went quiet. Finally, Rhee sighed. You're right, Doctor, I don't like it, but you're right. She turned to the helm officer. Prepare a shuttle, small team only. We go in, we check, we get out. No heroics. Understood? Yes, Captain. Rhee pointed at Mara. You're coming. If there really is a medical emergency, I'll need you. Mara nodded, gripping her medkit. Understood. The shuttle dropped away from the Astrahedron like a falling star, heading down through the thin, icy atmosphere of the moon. Through the small viewport, Mara saw the surface rising to meet them, jagged mountains of dark rock, long frozen plains, and strange, glowing cracks of pale blue light where the ice reflected the weak, distant sun. Static hissed through the comms as magnetic interference scratched at their instruments. "Hold steady," the pilot muttered, hands tight on the controls. "Any idea where the signal is coming from?" Ree asked. Jalen, now seated at a smaller console on the shuttle, checked his readings. "Yes, Captain. There's a canyon ahead. The signal is focused in that area, near the base." The shuttle passed over the edge of the canyon, and Mara felt her breath catch. The canyon was huge, wide enough to fit a whole city inside, its walls layered with dark stone and ice. Strange, glowing crystals stuck out of the cliffs like teeth, shining softly. "There," Jalen said. "At the bottom. I'm getting a stronger reading." The pilot carefully lowered the shuttle toward a flat patch of ground near the canyon floor. Dust and ice crystals rose in a soft cloud as they landed. "Everyone suit up," Ree ordered. "Atmosphere is thin. Too thin for humans." Mara pulled on her environment suit, sealed it, and checked her oxygen levels. She slung her medkit over her shoulder and followed the others out of the shuttle. The air outside was freezing. Even through the suit, she could feel the cold gnawing at her. The sky above was a dull gray, and the canyon walls stretched up like frozen waves. "Signal is that way," Jalen said, pointing deeper into the canyon. The team moved carefully over the cracked ground, boots crunching on frost. Mara kept her eyes on the scanners built into her wrist console, watching for any sign of life. Heart rate, warmth, movement, anything. For a long few minutes, there was nothing. Then her scanner beeped. "Wait," she said, stopping. "I'm getting something. Large life signs. Very faint." Ree moved beside her. "Direction?" Mara pointed ahead, where the canyon widened into a kind of basin. At the far end, something huge lay on the ground, half covered in dusty ice and shadow. At first, Mara thought it was just part of the canyon wall, a strange rock formation. Then it moved, just a little. A slow, painful twitch. Her heart slammed against her ribs. That's not rock," she whispered. As they moved closer, the shape became clear. It was a creature, enormous, its long body curled around itself like a sleeping serpent. Thick, overlapping scales covered it, but many were cracked or chipped. Two vast wings lay spread out and limp, like broken sails made of shadow and silver. A long, horned head rested on the ground, eyes closed. "Is that a dragon?" Jalen breathed. Mara stared, overwhelmed. It looked like the dragons from human myths, but alien in small ways. Strange ridges along its spine, the soft glow of faint bioluminescent veins under its scales, the way its breath misted in slow, weak clouds. Her wrist scanner beeped urgently. "Life signs are critical," she said. "Very weak. Heart rate is low. Breathing shallow. This being is dying." Ree looked between the creature and Mara. "Is this what sent the distress signal?" The dragon's eye flickered open, just a slit. A dim, deep gold light stared at them. There was intelligence there, awareness, fear, pain. The creature's chest rose in a rough, shuddering breath. Its mouth opened slightly, and a sound came out, low, broken, like someone trying to speak after screaming for too long. Mara's suit translated nothing. The AI whispered in her ear. "Language unknown. Pattern suggests attempt at communication, meaning unclear." Mara took a slow step forward. "It's trying to say something." "Careful," Ree warned. Mara nodded but did not stop. She felt no threat from the dragon, only exhaustion, like a fire burned down to its last ember. She spoke in calm, simple English, hoping tone mattered more than words. "We are here to help. I am a medic. I want to save you." The dragon's golden eye focused on her. Its breath hitched as if it were surprised. The faint glow under its scales flickered and dimmed. "Doctor," Jalen said quietly. If that thing is as big as it looks, we might not have enough supplies for something like this. I know, Mara answered. She knelt beside the dragon's neck, just out of reach of its mouth, and aimed her scanner again. Close up, the readings were clearer. Severe internal strain, low blood pressure, possible organ failure. Its body temperature was dropping. It's been injured for a long time, she said softly. Maybe by those storms, maybe something else. It's a miracle it's still alive. Can you do anything? Ree asked. Mara opened her med kit and looked at the contents. Most of her tools were designed for humans or small aliens, but some things were universal: fluids, stabilizers, pain relief. She could try to adjust doses based on mass and metabolism. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than watching it die. I can try, she said. I'm not going to just stand here. Ree gave a short nod. You have 10 minutes. If the magnetic field spikes, we have to get back to the shuttle. Understood? Understood, Mara replied. She set to work. She delivered warmed fluid through a large injector, choosing the most neutral solution they had. She applied patches that encouraged cellular recovery along cracked scales. She used a non-species specific pain suppressor, hoping it would ease the creature's suffering without harming it. The dragon's breathing smoothed a little, but the scanner still glowed red. It's not enough, Mara whispered. She checked a different compartment in her medkit. Inside, nestled in a foam slot, were the small, transparent doses of adrenaline. Only 3. Strong, fast-acting. Designed for human emergencies. Heart stoppage, shock, extreme trauma. She stared at them for a long moment. If she used one and it worked, it might give the dragon a better chance. If it didn't, she might cause more stress to a body already near the edge. And if she used it now, that was one less dose available for her crew in a crisis. Ree's voice came over the comm. Doctor, time check. You have 7 minutes. Mara swallowed. I know. She looked up at the dragon's face. The golden eye was still watching her, though it seemed tired, unfocused. She could almost imagine the question in that gaze. Are you going to help me? Her hand hovered over the adrenaline shots. Behind her, the canyon wind sighed, cold and thin. The icy air sparkled slightly with tiny crystals. Everything seemed quiet, holding its breath with her. You're not human, she said softly to the dragon. I don't know how your body will react. I don't know if this is safe. But if I do nothing, you will die. Her words fogged the inside of her helmet for a moment as she exhaled. She imagined one of her crewmates collapsing on the ship, heart failing, breath stopping. That shot might be the difference between life and death for them. For a human she knew, for a friend. But right now, someone or something was already at death's door, right in front of her. Mara took a slow breath. My job, she told herself quietly, is to save lives. Any lives. If I can. The dragon's golden eye blinked once. Slowly. Trusting. Mara felt the decision settle in her chest like a weight that was also somehow light. She reached into the kit and closed her fingers around one adrenaline injector. I'm going to help you, she whispered to the dragon. I promise. She pulled the injector free and checked the dosage display. Behind her, the sky rumbled with distant magnetic thunder, and the ship's AI quietly warned of an incoming storm. Time was running out. A life was running out. And Dr. Mara Vance, human medic, prepared to give her last shot. The cold wind inside the canyon picked up speed, brushing against Dr. Mara Vance's suit, like a whisper telling her to hurry. The magnetic clouds above were shifting, their pale blue light weaving strange patterns across the rocky walls. The warnings from the ship's AI grew softer, but more urgent in her ears. But Mara didn't hear anything except the slow, weakening breaths of the alien dragon lying before her. The creature's massive chest rose and fell in uneven waves. Each breath sounded heavy, tired, like it was lifting the weight of mountains with every inhale. Frost formed around its nostrils. Its scales, once bright with bioluminescent veins, now shimmered weakly, like a dying ember trying to stay alive. Mara held the adrenaline injector in her hand. The tool felt small, too small, compared to the giant life she was trying to save. She knew it wasn't made for beings like this. It was made for humans. For emergencies she could understand. Heart attacks, shock, collapse. Simple, predictable cases. This was different. New. Unknown. Everything in her medical training said, be careful. Everything in her heart said, save them. She knelt closer. The dragon's golden eye slowly followed her movement. It looked tired, but also aware. Aware in a way that sent a warm shiver down her spine. There was intelligence there, curiosity, and something deeper. Trust. Captain Rhee's voice came through the comm again. Dr. Vance, report. Do you have the creature stable? Mara hesitated. Not stable, she answered honestly. Improved, but not enough. It needs more help. Doctor, we cannot risk losing time down there, Rhee said firmly. The magnetic field is rising fast. I know, Mara whispered, though she didn't press the comm button. She didn't want the captain to hear that part. She looked again at the injector. Her thumb rested lightly on the trigger. Easy, she said softly to the dragon. I won't hurt you. I'm just trying to help. The creature's eyelid fluttered, not closing but almost nodding. A tired rumble vibrated through its throat, gentle, low, like a quiet sigh. Mara's breath trembled inside her helmet. This moment felt huge, bigger than medical logic or mission protocol. She was standing at the edge of something she didn't fully understand, something ancient, something rare, something extraordinary. She remembered the day she applied to the Astrahedron. She had promised herself she would save lives wherever she went, even the unusual ones, especially the unusual ones. She took one steadying breath, then another, and pressed the injector to the large vein ridge she had found along the side of the dragon's neck. Administering now, she murmured. Her thumb pressed down, a soft hiss, a pulse of energy. The injector emptied. The dragon's body reacted instantly. Its wings twitched, just slightly at first. Then the glow under its scales brightened, spreading like a slow sunrise across its enormous form. The faint, bioluminescent lines grew clearer, tracing along its neck, down its chest, and across its curled tail. Mara stepped back instinctively, but the creature did not move aggressively. It only shuddered, a deep, long tremor that seemed like a body waking from a long, cold sleep. Her scanner beeped. Numbers shifted. Heart rate rising, blood pressure stabilizing, oxygen levels climbing. It's working, she breathed, amazement filling her voice. It's actually working. Jalen, a few meters behind, let out a quiet sigh of relief. Thank the stars. The dragon's eye opened wider this time, the golden light stronger. Mara felt the gaze settle on her, not sharp or frightening, but filled with something she didn't expect from a creature so large and powerful. Gratitude. It blinked slowly, and she imagined the soft, unspoken words. Thank you. Mara felt her throat tighten. She didn't speak, didn't move. She simply let the moment exist, but the canyon did not give them peace for long. A wave of static brushed through her helmet. The AI's voice returned, louder now. Warning! Magnetic field spike detected. Atmospheric disturbance incoming. Captain Rhee stepped forward, urgency in her posture. Doctor, we need to leave now. Whatever you can do for it, you've done. Mara swallowed. Her eyes stayed locked on the dragon. Just one more reading. Rhee hesitated, but nodded once. 1 minute. No more. Mara quickly checked her scanner again. The creature's vitals were climbing, but still unstable. The adrenaline had given its system a sharp push, but alien physiology was unpredictable. She wished she had more data, more tools, more time. But she didn't. She had given everything she could. She stood and took one small step back. The dragon tried to lift its head. Not fully, just a small motion, slow and stiff, but clear. The movement pushed loose ice and dust across the ground. Its wings trembled, stretching only a little. "Easy," Mara whispered, raising both hands gently. "You're still weak. Don't push too hard." The creature let its head rest again, though with more control this time. Its breathing was steadier. The glow under its scales continued to brighten, like an inner fire regaining strength. Jalen spoke softly through the calm. "Doctor, it's looking better, isn't it?" "Yes," she answered. "Better, but still fragile." "Dr. Vance," Ree called. "We're out of time." Another rumble of thunder echoed from above. Sparks of blue light crackled between the canyon cliffs. The air itself seemed to hum, like invisible currents were sliding past them. Mara had to go. She placed her hand lightly on the dragon's massive forelimb, even though she knew it couldn't truly feel her through the suit. Still, the gesture felt right. Human. "I hope this helps you," she said softly. "I hope you live." The dragon watched her for a long, silent moment. Its eye glowed brighter, warmer. Mara wasn't sure if it understood her words, but she felt, deep in her chest, that it understood the meaning. Ree pulled gently at Mara's arm. "We have to move." Mara nodded, though she didn't look away from the creature as she stepped backward. When she turned, she saw something she hadn't noticed before. Carved into the canyon wall near the dragon's resting place were markings, long curved symbols glowing faintly under layers of ice, ancient, purposeful, like murals or runes. They looked like they had been made by the dragon's own claws. Jalen noticed them too. "Captain, do you see that?" Ree narrowed her eyes. "Yes, but we don't have time to study anything. Move out." Mara took one last look at the dragon as the team began to retreat. The creature tried once more to lift its head. This time it succeeded a little more, raising it enough that the golden eye caught the pale light from the sky. It watched them go. And Mara felt something tug inside her heart, something quiet and powerful, a connection she couldn't explain, a promise she didn't remember making. They moved quickly toward the shuttle, the storm above growing louder. Blue sparks leaped between the canyon's crystal ridges, and the wind carried small stones skittering across the ground. When they reached the shuttle, the pilot had already powered up the engines. "Strap in," he called. Mara entered last, turning once more to look at the canyon opening. The dragon was almost out of sight now, hidden behind rock and shadow. But she saw the faint glow of its scales, a soft, warm light in the cold darkness. She sat down, breath tight, and buckled her harness. The shuttle lifted off. As they rose, the magnetic storm hit. Bright blue flashes streaked across the sky like lightning without sound. The shuttle trembled, but held steady. The canyon became smaller beneath them, and soon the dragon was only a memory in the shadows. Mara pressed her hand over her chest, feeling her heart's steady beat. She had used the last adrenaline dose she carried, the emergency stock for herself, for any human on board, gone, but she didn't regret it. Ree glanced back at her. "Doctor, are you all right?" Mara looked out the window at the swirling storm below. "I hope so," she whispered, "but I hope the dragon is even better." The captain didn't reply. She didn't need to. The shuttle pierced through the upper atmosphere, heading back toward the astrahedron, toward safety, warmth, and familiar air. But Mara's mind stayed behind in the canyon, on the creature she had saved, or tried to save, on the moment their eyes met, on the quiet understanding between two very different beings. She didn't know what would happen next. She didn't know if the dragon would survive. She didn't even know if she had made the right medical choice, but she knew one thing without doubt. She wanted to see it again. And someday, she believed she would. The astrahedron welcomed the returning shuttle with a soft metallic hum. Its docking clamps extended like open arms, pulling the small craft into safety. As soon as the doors sealed behind them, warm air filled the chamber, replacing the cold, thin atmosphere of the moon. Dr. Mara Vance stepped off the shuttle last, her boots hitting the solid floor with a dull thud. She felt heavy, not just from the long mission, but from everything she had left behind in that canyon. Or rather, everyone. Her mind kept drifting back to the dragon, the golden eye, the slow, weak breaths, the way its bioluminescent veins brightened after the adrenaline shot. Something about that moment had settled into her heart like a quiet flame. She wanted to know if the creature survived. She needed to know. But for now, she had to return to her duties. Captain Rhee walked beside her, silent but thoughtful. The crew headed to the decontamination bay where warm mist sprayed over their suits. Mara removed her helmet and inhaled the ship's filtered air. It smelled normal, clean, warm, safe. But she felt like a different person breathing it. The medic who left the ship was not the same one who had returned. When the decontamination cycle ended, Rhee finally spoke. "Doctor, full check-in at the med bay. I want you evaluated too." "I'm fine, Captain," Mara said quietly. Rhee raised a brow. "You gave a powerful stimulant to an unknown alien creature. You worked in freezing air for 30 minutes, and you nearly ran out of oxygen twice when the magnetic spikes hit. So yes, doctor, full evaluation." Mara didn't argue. She only nodded and followed orders. Inside the medbay. The medbay felt too bright, too clean. It was hard to believe that just an hour ago she had been kneeling beside a dying creature 10 times larger than her entire cabin. The room's scanners glowed around her, checking her vitals. Stable, normal, human, but emotionally, she felt anything but normal. She kept replaying the dragon's eye in her mind, the quiet trust, the soft glow, the feeling that it understood her, even though they shared no language. The ship's AI interrupted her thoughts. "Dr. Vance, physical scan complete. Minor stress levels detected. No medical attention required." She exhaled and sat on a small stool. "Thank you." The AI paused. Then, in a softer voice, one it used only in sensitive situations, it said, "Doctor, you appear troubled. Would you like assistance in processing your emotional state?" Mara gave a tired smile. "I'm just thinking." "About the creature?" the AI asked. Mara nodded slowly. "Yes. I keep wondering if it's still alive." The AI paused again. "The adrenaline injection you provided was unusually effective considering species differences. Its vital readings, based on your scanner, improved by 39%. "That's good," she whispered. "It is very good," the AI added. But even with those words, Mara's heart stayed uneasy, because 39% was still not 100. The briefing room Captain Rhee called an emergency debrief with the crew. Mara arrived to find the others already seated. A large hologram of the moon hovered in the center table, glowing in pale blue. Jalen was speaking. "Before we left, I recorded the symbols on the canyon walls. I ran them through the analyzer." Rhee gestured for him to continue. Jalen tapped a panel, and glowing symbols appeared above the table. Curved, sweeping lines that looked like art scratched into stone. "They're old," he explained. "Really old. Thousands of years, maybe more." Mara's eyes widened. "So the dragon wasn't just resting there. It might have been living there?" "Or guarding something," Jalen added. "We can't be sure. But those markings were deliberate, like a story or a warning." Rhee frowned. And the creature? What do we know about it? Mara stood slowly. It's extraordinary. Its physiology is different from anything we've seen. Its scales conduct bioenergy. Its veins glow. It has a huge cardiovascular system, but it was failing. The adrenaline helped, but I don't know for how long. She hesitated before adding, "It tried to communicate with us. I could feel it." One of the engineers, Lyra, tilted her head. "You think it's intelligent?" "I don't think," Mara said softly. "I know." Jalen crossed his arms. "So, what do we do? Go back?" Ree shook her head. "No, not yet. The magnetic storms are rising. If we land now, we risk losing the shuttle. Or worse, we wait until the storms settle." Mara felt her stomach twist. Waiting felt wrong. Dangerous. What if the dragon needed help right now? "What if it doesn't survive the storm?" she asked quietly. Ree met her eyes with a steady gaze. "Doctor, you did more for that creature than any of us thought possible. But we cannot risk the ship for a rescue mission we don't understand." Mara lowered her eyes. She understood the captain's duty. But her heart still ached. A strange reaction. Several hours passed. Mara sat alone, reviewing the scanner data she had collected. Each number was familiar yet confusing. The creature's metabolism had reacted to her treatment in ways she couldn't explain. Its energy levels had increased quickly. Too quickly. The adrenaline had spread through its system like a spark through dry wood. But instead of burning out, the spark had awakened something. A dormant energy, a biological reaction, something old, something powerful. She leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. "What are you?" she whispered to the empty room. Her door chimed. She opened it to find Jalen carrying a data pad and 2 hot drinks. "You look like you forgot how sleep works," he said playfully. She smiled despite her mood. "Maybe a little." He handed her a cup. "You're worried about the creature." "Yes," she admitted. Jalen sat on the edge of her desk. "I've seen you work before, Mara. You don't give up on patients. But you don't blame yourself for things you can't change either." "That's the problem," she said softly. "This doesn't feel like something I can't change." "Because you care?" She nodded quietly. "Because I care." Jalen rested a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Then when the storm ends, we'll go back. Together." Mara felt warmth spread through her chest. Not romantic, but supportive. A friend's promise. But even that comfort didn't silence the distant unease deep inside her. Something was happening on that moon, and she could feel it. The awakening hours later, the ship shook. A soft tremor, but enough to make Mara look up sharply. "What was that?" she asked. The AI responded immediately. "Unusual energy wave detected on the moon's surface. Source unknown." Mara's heart pounded. "Where exactly?" "Coordinates match the canyon where the creature was found." She shot to her feet. "Captain Ree needs to hear this." On the bridge. When Mara reached the bridge, the entire crew was already staring at the main screen. A live feed from the moon showed waves of pale gold energy spreading across the canyon floor. The crystals embedded in the rocks glowed brighter than before, as if a light inside the planet had awakened. Ree narrowed her eyes. What caused that? Jalen zoomed in the display. What they saw next froze the entire bridge. A large shape moved in the center of the canyon, a familiar shape, long, scaled, glowing softly. The dragon. Ree breathed out. "It's standing." Mara's hand flew to her mouth. The creature rose slowly, lifting its long neck and stretching its wings part way. The bioluminescent veins were bright now, brighter than when they first found it. The adrenaline had awakened something more than just its body. It had awakened its strength. Its eyes glowed gold white, warm and alive. Mara whispered, It survived. The crew watched silently as the dragon lifted its head toward the sky, as if sensing the ship above. Then, very slowly, it looked up, straight at the orbiting astrahedron. Mara's chest tightened. It knows we're here. The creature opened its wings a little more. Snow and ice fell off in sheets. The wind swirled around it, pulling at the glowing crystal shards. And then the dragon roared. Not a violent roar, not angry, not threatening. A calling roar, a sound full of strength, relief, and life. A sound of survival. Mara felt tears sting her eyes. Her shot, her last emergency dose, had done this. She had saved something ancient, something important, something alive. The message. The ship's AI interrupted the silence. Captain Ree, we are receiving a new signal from the moon. It matches the distress frequency, but the pattern is different, more complex. Ree frowned. Translate? The AI worked for several seconds. Then it spoke again, slow, clear, almost gentle. Message meaning, thank you, healer. Mara froze. Her breath caught, and for the first time since leaving the canyon, her fear melted into something warm and light. Hope. The bridge of the astrahedron was silent except for the soft humming of machines and the gentle, rhythmic beeping of sensors. Every eye was fixed on the display that showed the glowing canyon far below. The dragon stood tall now, no longer weak, no longer collapsed in the ice. It was awake, alive, strong, and looking at them. Dr. Mara Vance stood closest to the screen. Her gloved hands hung at her sides, trembling slightly. She hadn't expected this. When she injected the adrenaline, she had hoped only to buy the creature more time. A chance. A breath. She never imagined it would rise. As the dragon's roar faded into the cold air of the moon, something changed on the ship. Not physically. No alarms, no damage, no danger. But the atmosphere felt different, warmer, brighter, as if the dragon's survival lit a spark in every heart. Jalen broke the silence first. It knows we're here, he said quietly. It's actually communicating. Captain Ree crossed her arms, studying every detail on the screen. Dr. Vance, this is your area. What do you interpret from this display? Mara swallowed. It's showing strength, she said slowly. Not aggression. More like reassurance. Reassurance? Jalen echoed. Mara nodded. Yes, like it wants us to know it isn't hurt anymore. The dragon shifted its enormous wings, stretching them out like silver sails. Pale light ran across their edges, reflecting the canyon's glowing crystals. The creature's golden eyes lifted again, scanning the sky. Doctor, the ship's AI said softly. The creature is emitting low-frequency tones. The meaning appears to be gratitude. Mara felt her chest tighten. Gratitude. The word echoed in her heart. She had saved it, but she had also changed it. The adrenaline didn't simply strengthen its body. It awakened something deeper. Its bioluminescent lines were brighter now, flowing with soft, warm light. Jalen leaned forward. Captain, if it's communicating, can we answer? Ree hesitated. What would we even say? Mara stepped forward. Let me try. The captain stared at her. After a moment, she nodded. Go ahead, Doctor. Mara approached the communication console, her pulse quickening. She activated the external broadcast, knowing the creature might not understand her words, but maybe it would recognize her voice. She breathed in slowly, then spoke. Can you hear me? She said gently. It's me, the healer, the one who helped you. Down on the moon, the dragon's head lifted fully. Its eyes glimmered like molten gold. It made a deep, resonant sound. A low hum that vibrated through the canyon walls. The crystals lit up in response, glowing brighter with every note. That's Beautiful, Jalen whispered. Mara closed her eyes for a moment, letting the sound wash through her. It was warm, soothing, almost musical. It did not feel like a roar of power. It felt like a greeting. Slowly, she continued. We are your friends. We want to understand you. If you know we are here please show us. The dragon lowered its head slightly, almost a bow. Mara gasped softly. Captain, did you see that? Ree nodded slowly. It acknowledged you. The AI added, behavior suggests recognition and trust. Warmth spread through Mara's chest. Trust, a word that felt far too important to ignore. Preparing for contact hours passed as the crew studied the energy patterns rising from the canyon. The magnetic storm was weakening, enough to make another landing possible. The dragon remained in the same place, occasionally stretching its wings or making soft vocal tones that echoed off the canyon walls. But it did not leave. It waited. Captain Ree finally gathered the team in the briefing room. The hologram of the moon shimmered above the table again, but this time the dragon's glowing form was included. We have a choice, Ree said. We can land again, establish contact, try to learn more, or we stay in orbit, observe from a distance, and avoid unnecessary risk. Captain, Mara said quietly, it trusts us. I felt it. And if it wanted to harm us, it had every chance. It didn't. Instead, it thanked us. Jalen nodded. This is the discovery of a lifetime, a living, intelligent species. We can't turn away. The engineer Lyra added, our readings show no harmful radiation near the creature, and the storm is fading fast. Ree looked at each of them, weighing their words. Then she turned to Mara. Dr. Vance, she said formally, you brought this creature back from the edge of death. It responded to you. If we go back, you must be the one to approach it again. Do you accept that responsibility? Mara felt her breath catch in her throat. Responsibility. The word felt heavy but not frightening. Yes, Captain, she said firmly. I accept. Ree nodded. Prepare the shuttle. We go at dawn cycle. Return to the canyon. The shuttle descended through the soft light of the moon's dawn, gentle lavender and silver hues painting the landscape below. The storm was gone now, replaced by calm air and shimmering frost. The canyon looked peaceful, almost welcoming. Mara sat in the front passenger seat, her medkit secured beside her. She didn't know if she would need it again. She hoped not, but she brought it anyway. The pilot landed the shuttle on the same flat patch of ground as before. Mara felt her heart hammering as the doors opened, letting in the quiet chill of the moon. The dragon was already waiting. It stood at the far end of the basin, wings tucked neatly, its long tail curled around its legs. Its eyes glowed softly as it watched them exit the shuttle. Mara stepped forward slowly, hands visible and relaxed. Her breath fogged inside her helmet. Easy, she whispered to herself. Slow steps, calm, respect. The creature lowered its head again, just slightly. Not a threat. A greeting. Mara's chest warmed. Captain Ree and Jalen stayed several steps behind her, giving her space. The dragon's gaze never shifted from Mara. When she reached a safe but close distance, she spoke in a calm voice. Hello again. The dragon let out a soft hum, quiet, gentle, almost like a purr from something far smaller. The ground vibrated faintly. Mara smiled. I'm glad you're alive. To her amazement, the creature's bioluminescent veins brightened at her words, not dangerously, just warmly, like a soft glow responding to emotion. The ship's AI spoke through her helmet. Doctor, the creature is emitting recognizable sound patterns. Attempting translation. Please wait. Mara's heart raced. Was it really speaking? The hum shifted in tone. The crystals nearby glowed brighter. almost like they were amplifying the dragon's voice. Finally, the AI spoke again. Approximate meaning, healer, you saved me, I remember. Mara felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. She didn't want her visor to fog. I didn't do much, she whispered. I just gave help when you needed it. The dragon raised its head slightly. Another vibration of light swept across its scales. Second message? Your help was life. Your courage was strength. Ree whispered through the comm. Incredible. Jalen muttered, It's poetic. Mara could barely speak. Something inside her felt full, warm, light, and deeply moved in a way she had never felt during any medical rescue before. This wasn't just a creature. This was a being, a person, and it was thanking her. The name. Suddenly. The dragon lowered its head until it was closer to the ground. It extended one massive claw and scraped 3 glowing symbols into the icy dust. Mara stepped closer, reading the flowing shapes. The AI processed the symbols and translated, Its name is Sorinth. Mara repeated softly, Sorinth. The dragon's eyes brightened at the sound. Mara placed a gentle hand on her chest. I'm Mara. The creature, Sorinth, softly hummed again, meaning, Mara, healer, friend. Mara's heart nearly burst. We're honored, she whispered. Sorinth bowed its head deeply this time, an ancient gesture, heavy with meaning. The AI translated one final message. I pledge myself to you, life bond, protector, ally. The bridge crew listening through comms went silent. Captain Ree whispered, stunned. Doctor, I think it just swore loyalty to you. Mara shook her head slowly. Not to me. To us. To all humanity. Because we helped when it needed us. Sorinth lifted its wings, not in threat, but in a grand gesture, like opening arms to greet the sunrise. A bond had formed, a connection older than language, a friendship born of compassion. And Mara knew with absolute certainty, this was only the beginning. The shuttle hummed softly as it lifted from the moon's surface. Outside the viewport, the frozen canyon stretched out beneath them, bathed in the soft glow of dawn. Mara Vance sat in the front seat, her gloved hands resting on her knees. She could still feel the faint warmth of Sorinth's gaze in her mind, as though the dragon's presence had left a trace that could not be removed. Behind her, Captain Ree and the crew exchanged quiet words, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. No one had expected this. No one had imagined that a single human could forge a connection with a being so vast, so powerful, and so ancient. Mara didn't speak. She simply stared out at the moon, thinking about what had happened. The adrenaline shot she had given Sorinth was meant to save life. But it had done more. It had awakened strength. It had created trust. And most importantly, it had opened a bridge between two species that had never truly met before. The shuttle climbed higher, leaving the moon behind. The magnetic storms that had once made landing impossible now shrank into the distance, like shadows chased away by light. Mara finally allowed herself to exhale fully. We did it, Jalen said softly from the back, almost to himself. Yes, Mara replied, her voice quiet. We saved him, and maybe he saved us too. Captain Ree's eyes softened as she looked at Mara. You showed courage today, not just in medicine, but in trust. You risked your own safety to help a creature no one understood. That's something few humans would do. Mara shook her head. I just did what I had to do. If I could have helped someone else, or something else, I would have done the same. Ree nodded slowly. That's exactly why humanity is remarkable. A promise in the stars. Back aboard the Astrahedron, the crew spent the next few hours analyzing the data collected during their return. Sorinth's vital signs, recorded from afar, showed steady improvement. The dragon was no longer weak. Its energy radiated through the canyon, and the bioluminescent patterns along its scales seemed to pulse with life, almost as though the moon itself acknowledged the presence of something extraordinary. Mara sat quietly in the med bay, reviewing the recordings. She watched the faint glow ripple across the dragon's scales, remembering the moment she had administered the last adrenaline shot. That instant of trust, the creature's golden eye, the slow, trembling breath. It all played in her mind like a vivid memory she could not forget. The AI's voice interrupted softly. "Dr. Vance, Sorinth is displaying signs of intelligence. Behavioral patterns suggest awareness, comprehension, and possibly emotion." Mara smiled faintly. "Yes, I felt that too. And I think he understands more than we know." The AI paused. "Doctor, the dragon is emitting low-frequency pulses consistent with communication. It is attempting to form a bond with humans, specifically with those who assisted it." Mara's hand hovered over the console. "That's incredible. A life debt, perhaps? Or some kind of ancient promise?" "Interpretation likely. Recognition and gratitude. Possibly a pledge of protection." Mara leaned back in her chair, overwhelmed but happy. It was hard to believe, yet easy to feel. She realized then that the bond they shared went beyond simple survival. It was respect. It was connection. It was the quiet power of empathy. An unexpected arrival. As the ship moved farther from the moon, the sensors detected something unusual. A streak of light appeared on the horizon, moving fast but not erratic. Mara leaned over the console. "Captain," she said, pointing. "Something's approaching the ship." The bridge fell silent. All eyes turned to the viewports. The streak of light grew larger, brighter. Then it slowed. The shape became clear, a massive silhouette cutting across the stars. Wings, scales, golden eyes that glimmered even at a distance. It was Sorinth. The dragon had taken flight. Mara's chest tightened. "He came to us." The creature hovered near the ship, wings beating slowly, powerfully, like a guardian watching over them. Every crew member stared in awe. The storm of thoughts inside Mara's mind was drowned by a single overwhelming feeling: wonder. "Unbelievable," Jalen whispered. "He's following us, willingly." Ree stood tall, her face calm, but amazed. "It seems he understands loyalty, trust, gratitude." Mara exhaled, feeling a lump in her throat. "Not just loyalty. He's giving us something too, hope." Sorinth lowered his massive head slightly, then emitted a series of soft, resonant tones. The ship's AI translated slowly. "Healer, friend, your courage has awakened strength. I am yours to call should you need." Mara blinked. He's pledging to help us." The crew watched in stunned silence. No one spoke. The enormity of the moment sank into their hearts. A dragon, legendary and long thought extinct, was now their ally. A test of trust. Over the next days, the astrahedron adjusted its course to allow Sorinth to fly alongside. Mara kept a watchful eye on him, fascinated by his behavior. The dragon was intelligent, cautious, and attentive. Every movement seemed purposeful, deliberate. Mara noticed subtle cues, shifts in wing position, small vocalizations, patterns in bioluminescence that seemed to correspond to moods or intent. One evening, as the ship glided through the soft glow of a distant star cluster, Mara sat alone in the observation lounge. Sorinth hovered nearby, his golden eyes meeting hers through the viewport. The dragon tilted his head slightly, and the faint glow along his scales pulsed like a heartbeat. Mara whispered softly, "You're stronger than I ever imagined." A low, vibrating hum responded from outside. The AI translated it. "And you are braver than I expected." Mara laughed softly, a mixture of disbelief and happiness. We both risked a lot, didn't we? The dragon lowered a wing slightly as though nodding. His presence was immense, yet comforting. Mara felt no fear, only the profound realization that humanity's kindness, courage, and empathy had touched something ancient, something powerful. A lesson learned weeks past. The magnetic storms on the moon remained unpredictable, but Sorinth's strength allowed him to patrol the skies safely. Mara and the crew continued research, often observing the dragon as he soared above the icy canyon. Each flight was a spectacle of light and energy, the bioluminescent veins tracing patterns across the dragon's massive body, like living constellations. Mara realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not weapons, technology, or control over the environment. It was the ability to choose compassion, to act courageously when faced with unknown life, to risk something for another being's survival. She remembered the adrenaline shot, the last one she carried. It had been a simple tool, but in her hands, it became the difference between life and death. And it had been enough. Sometimes all it took was a small act of courage to ripple into something much larger. Sorinth's presence reminded her of that every day. The dragon had trusted her, and she had honored that trust. The final farewell. Eventually, the mission's primary objective called them back to human-inhabited space. The canyon moon and Sorinth's home were far behind, glowing faintly in the distance as the ship accelerated. Mara knew this might be the last time she would see him for months, or even years. But as the ship's sensors scanned the horizon, she saw Sorinth rise above the clouds, wings stretched wide, eyes glowing gold and warm. The dragon hovered, not in aggression or anger, but in farewell, a guardian watching over his human friends, sending one last wave of reassurance. Mara pressed her hand against the viewport. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." The dragon tilted his massive head and pulsed with light, sending a wave of warmth that Mara felt deep in her chest. Then, with a powerful thrust of his wings, he lifted into the distance, disappearing among the stars. The canyon faded from view, but the bond remained. Mara knew that the moment would stay with her forever. Humanity's quiet power. Back aboard the Astrahedron, the crew reflected on the events of the mission. Sorinth's survival and loyalty were proof that courage and compassion could transcend species, size, and history. They realized that in the vastness of space, humanity's quiet strength was the ability to connect, to care, and to act, even when faced with the unknown. Mara returned to her medbay, sitting in the quiet hum of the ship. The adrenaline injector was empty, but the lesson it carried remained full. Life could be fragile, but a single act of courage could change everything. She looked out at the stars through the observation window. Somewhere out there, Sorinth soared freely, alive, strong, and connected to them forever. And Mara smiled, knowing humanity's true power was not in what they built, but in the choices they made and the courage to help, even when the cost was personal. She whispered softly, "Live well, Sorinth, until we meet again." The stars beyond twinkled as if in answer, and somewhere, in the distance, a dragon's wings beat steadily, echoing a promise that the bond between human and ancient life would never be forgotten.